Good morning. The weather is getting kind of chilly. And so I'm up in my she shed and I'm wrapped in my prayer shawl that my mom gave me. And I was just spending some time with the Lord, but I wanted to share a story with you. You know, as it gets kind of colder, we have field mice that kind of gravitate and move in to some of our buildings, and that includes our home. And even though we have things sealed up pretty good, it's amazing how they can flatten their bodies and get in. And so we had one in the kitchen that was so brave that we had our stove and our table. And I remember leaning over to get the lighter to light the stove, and the mouse was just sitting there looking at me. And I probably could have reached over and smacked it, you know. And it did that to me once or twice when I was baking, and Mark said it did it the same to him. So we only had some rat poison, and we had been using it out in the barn, kind of between the sheet metal and the wall. Sheet metal protects the wall from the pigs. And some of those rats can get pretty big. But we didn't have any mice poison. So stopped at the vet pharmacy and got some. And we put some out. And Mark and I and Pastor Sergey were kind of standing in a little circle talking. And all of our crates, you know, that had potatoes and onions kind of in the big room were there. And all of a sudden, you know, the dogs start searching, you know, and we realized that a mouse had gone in there. Maybe had gotten trapped in there when we walked up to this area to start talking. So anyway, they're trying to get the mouse. I'm moving the crates, you know, we're laughing. And then it shoots out, and Pastor Sergey just kind of jokingly stomps, and he gets it. So he gets this mouse. That was the first one. Then Mark, then we had the second situation. I was sitting at my desk, which is kind of like a big cabinet, and the door's open, and I can work and I can close it. And I was sitting there, and little boy loves to come and sit beside me. Kind of, I pull out a drawer and I put a book there, and that's where my mouse is. And I was working on, I think, editing a book, and he was sitting down there like he always does. And all of a sudden, he dives under my desk, and I had a stack of papers there of stuff that I needed to go through, and the papers start flying as he's digging. He knocks over the trash can. I jump back and yelp because he startles me. Turns out there was a mouse hiding behind the paper stack, and he all of a sudden got whiff of it and decided to go after it. And so it was trying to run away from him, and when I back up my chair, it's right into another cabinet, unless I move it kind of out, you know, between the cabinet door and the other cabinet. You know, so I'm kind of trapped in there with him, and he's jumping around, and this mouse is going around. And it goes back behind one of the doors, so I opened the door, and it had slipped through this small crack between my cabinet and the wall. I'm talking small crack, and it was gone. Ever since then, every time I sit at my desk, little boy's there, and I'm going to share some pictures, you know. And he's kind of like that with the bathtub, because we had a mouse in the bathtub twice in the past 8 years, and he's got this memory, you know, so he kind of has to check out the bathtub anytime we get into it. You know, he wants to look in while we're in the bathtub. I remember a couple weeks ago, Mark was in there, and somebody used the water, so he lost hot or cold, and he kind of yelped. And boy, little boy was ready to jump right in there. I happened to be in the bathroom and stopped him. You know, he's actually done it to me once when I was in the shower. Jumped in there with me. You know, so he's guarding me. But anyway, Mark found a dead mouse in the kitchen, and then the guys had found 4 other mice dead around, because the poison causes them to dehydrate, and they come out looking for water, so they don't, you know, die behind a cabinet or something. We've had these sticky pads a couple times, but they're very hard to find, you know. And we don't want mouse poop everywhere, you know. We have to clean a lot of. That's why we have a lot of our stuff in our kitchen in boxes, because we know this is a ritual that happens every fall. So anyway, just kind of those 2 funny situations with the mice. And now that it's getting pretty cold at night, they're probably going to be moving in again. And so we just put the poison underneath the stove and the fridge, and back in some corners where we know the dogs can never get to it. because we don't want them having babies and being infested. So anyway, just a mouse story for you. No Mickey Mouses here that are cute. Just kind of destructive ones that try and get into our cereal and other things like that, That's part of life of living out here in a village, out in the country. So anyway, I hope that kind of gave you a funny story for your morning or your day.